Now when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. For the
What were they
Lord
complaining
heard
about?
it, and his anger was aroused. So the fire of the Lord burned among them, and consumed some in the outskirts of the camp.
Holy!
Then the people cried out to Moses, and when Moses prayed to the Lord, the fire was quenched. So he called the name...
I mean, we were just reading in the previous chapter that they started to walk, move, right? When the cloud was over the tabernacle, right? When the cloud was there, they settled, and then when it lifted up above them, they walked, right? Holy! So maybe they were just complaining that they were walking, and they didn't want to walk. They were tired. So they started complaining, and then God just went, holy. I mean, obviously God would get mad, right? Right? Because he's taking them to their promised land. This is why you left Egypt. I'm going to take you to what you deserve, the land that I promised you guys, right? That's flowing with milk and honey. And they're complaining.
Name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord had burned among them.
Oh, what does Taberah mean?
Now the mixed multitude who...
I guess something to do with fire. Taberah. Taberah, a wilderness camp of the Israelites. All right. What did it mean prior to that? To consume. Consumption, burning, cleaning out.
who were among them yielded to intense craving. So the children of Israel also wept again and said,
"Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons."
This is when God gave them quail, right? Because remember we were talking about that earlier, right? They never asked for quail, right? They were only getting manna, and they were complaining, why are we only getting manna, only getting manna? And then God said, okay, fine, here's the quail, right? That's not how it went down. That's how I always thought it went down, right? It was God gave them the quail and the manna right from the get-go, but maybe it's going to happen here, right? Because they're complaining, when will we get meat? We want meat. Who will give us meat?
To eat. We remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt.
Yeah, right, you ate fish freely in Egypt. The cucumbers, melons, and leeks, and onions, and garlic.
The cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our whole being is dried up. There is nothing at all except this manna before our eyes.
Now the manna...
So when did God stop providing the quail? Remember, the quail flew low enough for them to grab, right? When did God stop doing that?
was like coriander seed, and its color like the color of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it, ground it on millstones,
Are we going over
or
this
beat
again?
it in the mortar, cooked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And its taste was like the taste of pastry prepared with oil.
That sounds
And
good.
when the dew fell on the camp in the night, the manna fell on it. Then Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, everyone at the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord was greatly aroused. Moses also was displeased. So Moses said to the Lord,
"Why have you afflicted your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight, that you have laid the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I beget them? That you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a guardian carries a nursing child, to the land which you swore to their fathers. Where am I to get meat to give all these people? For they weep all over me, saying, give us meat that we may eat. I am not able to bear all these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. If you treat me like this, please, kill me here and now, if I have found favor in your sight.
Yikes.
And do not let me see my wretchedness.
So the Lord said to Moses,
Gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tabernacle of meeting, that they may stand there with you. Then I will come down and talk with you there. I will take of the Spirit that is upon you, and will put the same upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you may not bear it yourself alone. Then you shall say to the people, Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt.
Why are they saying, for it was well with us in Egypt, and not talking about just recently where they were eating meat? Right? They have, look at how many offerings they're giving of lamb and rams and ox. They're giving the best of the best to God, but the rest, they can eat. Plus, remember, God was giving them quail and manna. So what is this going on here? I don't understand. How long have they been walking? Can they not eat of their cattle that they're walking with? And are there no quail coming in as it were before? Because there was quail coming in before. Look, I went back to Exodus 16, right? That's when God told them about the manna, and then He was giving them manna, right? But in Exodus 16, chapter 16, verse 13, so it was that quail came up at the evening, covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And the layer of dew lifted, okay, blah, 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 blah. But they had quail in the evening. So, I don't understand. I don't understand where this is coming from. I mean, how long have they been walking now? Maybe they've been walking for a while and they haven't gotten any quail, right? And for some reason, they're not eating their cattle. Let me see if this Bible has anything to say regarding this. 11:7-9. The clear implication of these verses is that the provision of manna was something that later generations would not know about. What? 7-9. Now manna was like coriander seed. Okay, so these are later generations of people, and Moses is repeating himself because these people don't know what it is. No, Moses likes to repeat himself, so I don't think that's necessarily the case. But let's continue reading here. Okay, but here, let me go back, right? The tone of the words "this manna" is one of contempt, an attitude that would peak years later. The foods of Egypt were plentiful and varied, even for the slaves and the poor. The provision of manna was regarded by the Israelites as monotonous, something that caused the inner being to be dried up. The clear implication of these verses is that the provision of manna was something that later generations would not know about or understand without an explanation. Okay, so that's why Moses was giving another explanation. Could be, or that he just likes to repeat himself. Its daily appearance with a double measure on the day before the Sabbath and none at all on the Sabbath is clearly miraculous. One pot of manna was kept in the Ark of the Covenant for generations. See Exodus 16:33, right? They've been eating manna for a while, and quail. So I don't get the complaining. Maybe the quail is only for temporarily. God provided manna throughout the 40-year experience in the wilderness. Then it ceased to appear as mysteriously as it began in Exodus 16:35. Jesus described himself as the bread of life, better than the manna in the wilderness. Let me look at Exodus 16:35. Dum, dum, dum. Exodus 16. Come on now. Exodus 16:35. Here we go. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came into an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now, an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. So was that talking present tense? No, because they haven't come to the border of Canaan. Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of the Lord and the Rephidim. Okay, let me look at the... I don't know, we're going back to Exodus, but I want to get some clarification here. 16:35, 40 years. The completion of the story is anticipated before the intervening steps are recorded. Okay, so that is talking about in the future, right? Makes sense because we haven't reached the border of Canaan. So they've been eating manna continuously throughout this entire time. There was no stop in between. But when did the quail stop? I don't know.
Greatly aroused. Moses also was displeased. So Moses said to
Be the elders of the people and officers over them.
For me. If you treat me like this, please, kill me here and now if I have found favor in your sight. And do not let me see my wretchedness.
So the Lord said to Moses,
Gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tabernacle of meeting, that they may stand there with you. Then I will come down and talk with you there. I will take of the Spirit that is upon you, and will put the same upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you may not bear it yourself alone. Then you shall say to the people, Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat, not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have despised the Lord who is among you, and have wept before him.
So is God going to stop the manna and only give them meat so they can only eat that? And they're going to eat it so much they're going to get sick of it? Maybe. I mean, because if God gave them the option of manna, they could just stop eating the meat when they got sick of it and then eat manna. Right? How could they get sick of it if there's another option?
Saying, Why did we ever come up out of Egypt?
The people who I am among are 600,000 men on foot. Yet you have said, I will give them meat that they may eat for a whole month. Shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, to provide enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, to provide enough for them?
Has the Lord's arm been shortened? Now you shall see whether what I say will happen.
Right, because that's what I was thinking. They could eat from the flocks and their cattle.
To you or not.
So Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord. And he gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tabernacle. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took of the Spirit that was upon him, and placed the same upon the 70 elders. And it happened, when the Spirit rested upon them, that they prophesied, although they never did so again. But 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad, and the name of the other Medad. And the Spirit
Eldad
rested
and Medad.
upon them. Now they were among those listed, but who had not gone out to the tabernacle. Yet they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses,
Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp.
So Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, one of his choice men, answered.
Moses, my lord, forbid them.
Then Moses said to him,
Why
you
forbid them?
zealous
Because
for
they are
Moses-
not of Levite blood. But 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of So Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered the 70 men of the elders, and people placed them around the tabernacle. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took of the Spirit that was with him, and placed the same upon the 70 elders. And it happened, when the Spirit rested on them, that they prophesied, although they never did so again. So the elders prophesied there, right? But 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad and the other was Medad. The Spirit rested on them, right? The Spirit rested on them. God, the Holy Spirit. Now they were among those listed, but who had not gone out to the tabernacle. Yet they prophesied in the camp. Okay, so they were all supposed to go to the tabernacle, right? And place them around the tabernacle. 70 men of the elders placed around the tabernacle. But they didn't go to the tabernacle. They stayed in the camp. Now they were among the listed, but who had not gone out to the tabernacle. Yet they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses, oh, telltale, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. And Moses had forbid that. Right? They had to go to the tabernacle. But the Spirit rested on them as they were prophesying. So was God okay with it?
His assistant, one of his choice men, answered.
Moses, my lord, forbid them.
Then Moses said to him,
Are you zealous for my sake? Oh, that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them.
And Moses returned to the camp, both he and the elders of Israel.
So Moses wasn't mad, right? And then Moses said to him, Are you zealous for my sake? Like, are you getting upset because they're not listening to what I said? Oh, all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. I don't know if I understand this sentence. Oh, that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. I mean, he did put the Spirit upon them, right? And Moses returned to the camp, he and the elders of Israel. Let's see, Numbers 11:29. For reasons that were not recorded, Eldad and Medad did not join the other elders at the tabernacle of meeting. Nonetheless, the Spirit of God came upon them and empowered them in their own camp. When the word came to Moses that these men were prophesying, even though they were not where they were supposed to be, Joshua was afraid that their possible influence in the community would detract from the authority of Moses. Here, Joshua showed his loyalty to Moses by deferring to Moses' leadership and authority. Moses responded by wishing that all of God's people were Spirit-empowered. So he was like, okay, it's fine,
Would put his Spirit upon them.
And Moses returned to the camp, both he and the elders of Israel. Now a wind went out from the Lord, and it brought quail from the sea, and left them fluttering near the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and about a day's journey on the other side, all around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the surface of the ground. And the people stayed up all that day, all night and all the next day and gathered the quail. He who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was aroused against the people. And the Lord struck the people with a very great plague. So he called the name of that place Kibroth-Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had yielded to craving.
So God probably, like, they were like sickly quail. They're carrying some disease or something, and they ate it. But I mean, God sent it, so of course they were going to eat it. But maybe because they were complaining about it and God was still mad. But I don't understand this, because they buried the people who had yielded to craving. God didn't say, don't eat it, right? He said, you will eat it till you're sick of it. Well, here's they're literally sick of it. But he said, you'll eat it till you're sick of it. Not that you should not eat it. Don't eat it, right? I don't know. I'm sure there are some people there who were like, yeah, I was fine with the manna, but, you know, quail is here. I'll eat it because it's here. Right? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That's yeah, I don't know.
From Kibroth-Hattaavah, the people moved to Hazeroth and camped at Hazeroth.
All right, chapter 12. Let's go.
Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman.
Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses?
Okay, so maybe I was just reading the commentary regarding the last section, right? True to his promise, the Lord provided meat in the form of quail from the sea. He sent a strong wind that brought vast numbers of quail fluttering about 3 feet off the ground. The people fell into a frenzy, killing the birds and gathering them all through the night and into the next day, right? Because we saw that, you know, that's what they were doing. They were gathering it all night, right? But so maybe that's why they were like obsessed. They were gone crazy over this quail because they didn't have meat. And so they fell into their cravings because they were just gathering as much as they can. They were thinking with they're thinking with their eyes and their stomach, and not, or they're thinking with their stomach and not with their eyes, or think with their eyes, right? They were you know what I mean. Like, you know, when you go to a grocery store and you're hungry, you just want to buy everything. That's what they were like. They were just gathering all the quail that they could get, and they were being gluttonous, and so that's why God punished them.
Has he not spoken through us also?
And the Lord,
Wait, let me go back a little bit.
Ethiopian woman whom he had married.
Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. Why now? You've known about her for years at this point.
For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses?
Has he not spoken through us also?
And the Lord heard it.
Yeah, they couldn't have been, could not have been the root of the issue, right? Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman he had married. That's not the root of the issue. They were getting jealous because Moses was the only, like, a medium to God, right? Everyone went to God through him, essentially. Like, all God spoke to the people through Moses, right? And so Miriam and Aaron, the brother and sister of Moses, right, who stayed true to God their entire lives as a slave with the people, lived with the people while Moses went off to Egypt and most likely prayed to the Egyptian gods and all that stuff, right? Lived in an Egyptian lifestyle, comes back, right? He lived a life of privilege, comes back to his people, right? And then says, I lived away from you guys, and now I'm coming back, and I'm top dog amongst you guys now. Like, what? Are you better than us? You know what I mean? So Miriam and Aaron probably had this slight jealousy, right? I'm your brother, and I'm your sister. We started on the same playing field. We're at the same level, right? You're not better than me. I'm not better than you. So why is God not coming to us? Why is God not speaking through us to the people, right? Why is it only Moses that is the leader? That is where I'm sure it came from, right? And then it manifested in, because this Ethiopian woman he married, right? They're picking things about Moses to find fault with, right? Because they can't find fault with God chose Moses, right? Because then they're finding fault with God. So they're just, from that jealousy, different things are spawning. That's how I see it.
Now the man Moses was very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam,
"Come out, you three, to the tabernacle of meeting."
So the three came out. Then the Lord came down in the pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle.
That's like a father talking to his kids. They're all three siblings, right? Come out, you three.
And called Aaron and Miriam. And they both went forward. Then he said,
"Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face."
So Moses is above prophet level. Yeah, prophets get visions from God, but Moses can go and speak to God. Just face to face. I mean, not literally face to face, because God, you can't see him, right? And but like, they're speaking to each other, right? Because there are instances where Moses had to calm God down, and be like, you know what? You promised these people you can't destroy all of them after the calf situation. So they're talking at the same, I don't want to say at the same level, because Moses is obviously not at the same level as God, but you're let's say like you're talking to your professor. You're obviously not at the same level as your professor, but you're having a conversation back and forth. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's the amount of respect God had for Moses to even allow that. That's like who else can say, like, how many people can say that? I mean, Enoch, right? He walked with God and talked with God. Oh, it's crazy.
Even plainly, and not in dark sayings.
Even plainly. He didn't speak in riddles. He was just conversating, just talking. Wow. Like he's like a friend.
And not in dark sayings. And he sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid?
I thought God said, you can't see my face, but I'll show you my back. And then like Moses looking, he's like, he can't even look at it. He's like, that's too much. How does he see his form?
To speak against my servant Moses.
So the anger of the Lord was aroused against them, and he departed. And when the cloud departed from above the tabernacle, suddenly Miriam became leprous, as white as snow.
Oh!
Then Aaron turned toward Miriam, and there she was, a leper. So Aaron said to Moses,
"Oh, my Lord, please do not lay this sin on us, in which we have done foolishly and in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead, whose flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb."
So Moses cried out to the Lord,
"Please, heal her, O God, I pray."
Then the Lord said to Moses,
If her father had but spit in her face, would she not be shamed 7 days? let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and afterward she may be received again.
So God is looking at this as like, I just spit in Miriam's face because she's a disgrace and she is shamed for 7 days. Wow.
So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not journey till Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people moved from Hazirath and camped in the wilderness of Paran.
I want to read this, the explanation of what God was talking about with his relationship with Moses, right? The framework of this section is poetry, making the pronouncement of the Lord more vivid and memorable. The language conveys that God was in control. He spoke to whomever he wished and in the manner of his choosing. God is spirit. Language about his face is a concession to our way of thinking of a person. Hence, face-to-face speaks of the most intimate relationship that God had with Moses. The singling out of Miriam suggests that she was the instigator in this challenge to Moses, right? Makes sense, right? Because Aaron was given was like the right hand to Moses, right? And he was given some authority. He was a high priest, right? So Miriam probably felt left out because she wasn't really in charge of anything. I'm just scanning through this, see if there's anything interesting that I can read out for you guys. Yeah, nothing really. All right, so let's jump into 13.
And the Lord spoke to Moses.
Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them.
So Moses sent them from...
All right, so they're at the border of Canaan, right? Because remember we read in Exodus that once they reached the border of Canaan, after 40 years, right, God stopped the manna. So how long has it been now? It's not only been like, we just read that it was only like 2 years, right? So we got a lot more time.
From the wilderness of Paran, according to the command of the Lord, all of them men who were heads of the children of Israel. Now these were their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shammua, the son of Zakur. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Igal, the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Peltai, the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sodai. From the tribe of Joseph, that is, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadai, the son of Susai. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gemalli. From the tribe of Asher, Sethur, the son...
Right, because Manasseh was his his Egyptian name, right? Joseph's Egyptian name?
Son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabai.
That's sort of cool, though, right? That is included because Moses wrote this, so that's cool.
The son of Vaphsai. From the tribe of Gad, Geuel, the son of Machai. These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua. Then Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them,
Go up this way into the south, and go up to the mountains, and see what the land is like, whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, few or many, whether the land they dwell in is good or bad, whether the cities they inhabit are like camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are forests there or not. be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land.
Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehab, near the entrance of Hamath. And they went up through the south and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Then they came to the valley of Eshkal, and there cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. They carried it between two of them on a pole. They also...
Time out. You see what's wrong with this picture right here? Then they came to the valley of Eshkol, and there they cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. You know what a cluster of grapes is, right? This, right here. Just one of these, right? They cut down one cluster of grapes and they carried it between two of them on a pole. How big are these grapes? 13. Let's see what the Bible's got to say about this, because that's some huge grapes. 13:22. Let's see if it says anything. I doubt it will. Although the spies went all the way north of the region of Syria, near the entrance of Hamath, few details are recorded of their journey. Emphasis is given to Hebron, where descendants of Anak were found, and to the valley of Eshkol, where an enormous cluster of grapes was discovered. Okay, so
brought some of the pomegranates and figs.
How big were the pomegranates and figs?
The place was called the Valley of Eshkol because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of
That's a solid spy mission right there. 40 days.
Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him,
"We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there."
The Amalekites dwell in the...
What's that? Why? What's that big deal? They went up through the south and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. In the city, the people were strong, the cities were fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. How do you know that they're the descendants of Anak? And why are we pointing that out? Only those people out.
In the land of the south, the Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan.
Then Caleb...
I mean, I guess they spent 40 days. They can talk to people and figure that out. But why is the descendants of Anak pointed out separately? And then it says the Amalekites dwell in this area, the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, blah, 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 blah. It says, moreover, we saw the descendants
along
of Anak
the banks.
there. Let me see if this Bible has to say anything. The spies quickly focused on the troubles of the land, the strength of its inhabitants, and the fortification of its cities, and the immense size of the descendants of Anak. Where did it talk about the immense size of the descendants of Anak? Apparently, this was a family whose hereditary stature was legendary in the ancient Middle East. Where does it talk about the immense size? It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Where does it say they're of huge stature? I don't know. Right? I have no clue.
Of the Jordan.
Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses.
Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it.
But the men who had gone up with him said,
We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we.
and they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out.
The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature.
There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight.
There were giants? A land of giants? Okay, so that would be why they pointed out the descendants of the Anak first, right? But why did Caleb say, let us go up there at once and take possession, for we are able to overcome it? Right? Wasn't the previous report just talking about how strong the land is? It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea along the banks of the Jordan.
Before Moses.
Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land. What is a bad report? Like an incorrect report, or dang, this is a bad situation. You know what I mean? Because why would Caleb say, let's go up and fight if there are giants over there? You know what I mean? Let's see. 31, Numbers 13:31. Started from 30, right? Only Caleb spoke out against the flow of the negative reports. He urged immediate attack based on his confidence in the armies of Israel. And we may presume on his underlying faith in God, who would fight for his people. The other spies were steadfast in their bad report, which included their exaggerations. Do we know that they're exaggerations? Because why was Anak, the descendants of Anak, specified prior? Did Caleb specify that, or was that an overall general report that even Caleb agreed with? The other spies were steadfast in their bad report, which included their exaggerations. They described the land as evil and its inhabitants as giants. Their contentious description was ultimately an attack on God and the giver of the land. Such scandalous language could not be tolerated. Wow.
Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it.
But the men who had gone up with him said,
we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we.
And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out.
The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature.
There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight.
Okay, see, they said they saw the descendants of Anak, right? And the descendants of Anak came from the giants, right? So that's a fact in the time, right? The fact that they said they saw giants could be like, okay, yeah, exaggeration, right? But they said, and the descendants of Anak came from the giants. That would be something that could be verified with the children of Israel, with Moses and all that, right? Because that's the way that's worded. Seems like that's prior knowledge. People know that the descendants of Anak came from the giants, right? Because that's nothing to do with what they saw there, right? The descendants of Anak came from the giants. And then they saw the descendants of Anak there. So, did they see giants? The book of Numbers, let me make this bigger so you guys can see. The book of Numbers, let's see, who is this from? Christian Moldova, Sergiu Filat. The book of Numbers, chapter 13, describes the events of the people of Israel spying out Canaan, all right, which God had given them as eternal inheritance. The 12 spies saw the sons of Anak, who were giant men of great size. The sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim. You'll know what that is, kind of, because we had two sides to that, right? When we're talking about Genesis 6. That was an interesting one. So let's go back and check that out. That was crazy. The land through which we have gone in spying out is a land that devours its inhabitants. All the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. All right. I want to talk about this real quick here because I know some stuff about the book of Enoch, right? And in the book of Enoch, the giants, the Nephilim, ate people, I think, right? And here they're saying that they ate all the people. They devoured the inhabitants. And we were grasshoppers we became like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so we were in their sight. Anak is the son of Arba, the greatest man among the Anakim. The Anakims were men of great size whom Caleb had driven out of Hebron. The Anakims were men of great size whom Caleb had driven out from Hebron. Right, but this is in Joshua 14:15, so we haven't gotten there yet. Now, we're going to talk about it right now. Now he gave to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, a portion among the sons of Judah, according to the command of the Lord to Joshua, namely Kiriath Arba being the father of Anak, that is Hebron. Caleb drove out from there the three sons of Anak, Sheshai and Ahiman and Talmai and the children of Anak. But they're not specifying that the children of Anak were giants. So apparently the Anakims were not the only ones on the earth. In Hebrew, there are 4 words used for the word giant. One of these words appears in the book of Job 16:14 and means a mighty man, a warrior. That doesn't mean giant then. Another Hebrew word is translated as giants or Nephilim. Okay. But I also have heard that giants could mean of the earth. Is that true? I don't know. And Nephilim doesn't necessarily mean giant. Right? Because when we were reading Genesis, right, it seemed that the giants and the Nephilim are the giants, and the mighty men of old are different, and they said there were giants in those days, right? And it didn't seem like they were like, okay, it seemed like there were already giants there, right? And the offspring of the fallen angels and the women, or whatever you want to, if you don't believe that, the sons of Lot and the sons of Seth, the godly sons of Seth and the rest of mankind, right? The worldly women produced the Nephilim, or no, I don't think so, right? It didn't seem like, well, basically what I'm trying to say is that it seemed like the giants were already there, right? Because there were giants in those days. I mean, go back and check the Genesis. So we can. We're getting off in a tangent. Go back and check the Genesis video, and we read a bunch of articles regarding that. But all right, let's continue here. This word is used for a group or race of people whose physical stature was unusually great compared to other people. In the passage below in the Romanian translation, we have two words that refer to the same group of men: giants and valiants. Both giant and valiant in the Hebrew is Nephilim. Oh, interesting. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. Here we go. On the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and bore children to them. These were the mighty men of old, men of renown. You see what I'm saying here? The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So they were there when they were on the earth in those days. When they were on the earth, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and also after the sons of God came into the daughters of men. Right? So it seems like they were separate, right? And they bore children, and those children were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Right? So it seems like these mighty men of old, mighty men who were of old, men of renown, are different than the Nephilim. Seems like that, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. The same word is used in Genesis 6. Is also used in Numbers 13:33, the passage I mentioned above. Nephilims are identified with the Anakim, the Rephaim, and the Zamzumim. It is also regarded as the land of Rephaim, for Rephaim formerly lived in it. The Ammonites called them Zamzumin, a people as great, numerous, and tall as the Anakim. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they dispossessed them and settled in their place. Right? So they could be taller. They could be taller people, but not necessarily like super tall giants like we're thinking like Jack and the Beanstalk giant. Right? These giants were I don't know. See, there's not a lot of information to go on based off what I'm seeing. If you guys have some texts and verses, send them my way. I'm very curious about this because this is like some, right? This reads like a fantasy novel, and that's kind of cool. These giants were inhabitants of Palestine who were conquered by the Canaanites and the Philistines, and later by the Jews. The Bible does not tell us. First, let me go back. Did we finish? We finished 13, right? So we are free to explore here. We finished with our reading for today, so we can explore. The Bible does not tell us the origin of the Nephilim or the end of their genealogical line. Okay. If you look at the Book of Enoch, it seems like let me know if you're interested in the Book of Enoch, and we can do a Bible study. I'm not Bible study, a reading of Enoch, the Book of Enoch. That would be cool, right? Let me know. That'll be sort of controversial, right? Because it's of the Apocrypha, and right? Does it contradict the Bible? Does it not? Should we be listening to what's in there? You know. But I mean, it'll just be interesting to check out, right? But according to that book, right? Because I read some of it. It seemed like the flood of Noah, Noah's flood, was designed by God to wipe out the Nephilim and all that stuff, right? The offspring of the fallen angels and then the women, right? The mixed breeding, all that stuff, right? Wipe all that out because that was sinful. Remember, God likes people to stay with their own kind, animals to be with their own kind, plants to be with their own kind, wear clothes of its own kind, right? Don't mix, right? Stuff. That doesn't mean like races and all that stuff, right? It just don't be, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the flood was supposed to wipe all that out, right? So did some survive? Enoch's descendants may still exist today by having crossed with other peoples. One of the most famous giants is Goliath from Gath, the Philistine soldier who provoked the army of the king Saul in the valley of Elah. Goliath had a height of 6 cubits and a palm, which is between 2.5 meters and 3 meters. Goliath is not the only giant mentioned in the biblical literature. King Og in Basan was also a giant. Ooh, that's cool. Let's see how tall 6 cubits is. Cubits to feet. Eight feet tall, 8.85 feet. So that's not too crazy, right? That's not too crazy. Oops. I mean, this is going down. We're going into a lot of stuff there, right? But I want to focus down. Who were the Anakim in the Bible? Here we go. I hope my camera doesn't die, man. Anakim. Anakim were descendants of Anak. Joshua 15:13 states, Arba was the forefather of Anak. Kiryat Arba, also known as Hebron, was located in Judah and part of the land of Canaan. Easton's Bible Dictionary identifies Anakim as a remnant of the original inhabitants of Palestine before the Canaanites, a Cushite tribe from Babel. Ooh. And of the same race as the Phoenicians and the Egyptian shepherd kings. I thought Egyptians hated shepherds. Israelites were terrified of the Anakim and compared them to giants. When the Israelites arrived in the Promised Land, God told them to scout the area. 12 spies explored the area and discovered the Anakim living there. Caleb believed the people could overtake the giants, but the other 11 men disagreed. Okay, see, my commentary was saying that the 11 men were just exaggerating because they were scared, right? And Caleb was like, nah, we can take them, right? And the 11 men were like, no, we can't. Oh, look, they're giants, so that's why we can't. But they said, like the descendants of Anak, so people knew that these descendants of Anak were giants. Is this word giant used in the same way as it is used in the Bible as we use it today, or is there a different meaning? That's another thing we can look into. The spies spread bad news about the area of the Israelites. They compared themselves to the Lord. To the Lord. What am I reading? I saw this Lord right here. They compared themselves to grasshoppers in the eyes of the Anakim. Joshua was on Caleb's side. He believed the Lord would come through and help his people take the Promised Land, despite the Anakim's size and strength. The rest of the Israelites didn't believe. They grumbled and complained, questioning God and his plan. Because of their unbelief, the Lord sentenced the Israelites to 40 years of wandering the desert. He declared only Caleb and Joshua would enter the Promised Land, and every Israelite over the age of 20 would die in the wilderness. Well, spoiler alert, we didn't get there yet. Are the Anakim and the Nephilim the same? The first reference of the Nephilim is found in Genesis 6. They are identified as the children of men, of God, and daughters of men. Crosswalk.com states Christian scholars have theorized that the sons of God were fallen angels who reproduced with human females and possessed human males, who then bore children with human females. Some scholars believe Nephilim were giants, and others think they were fallen men. In Numbers 13, and when the 12 men were surveying the Promised Land, they spotted the Nephilim and identified the Anakim as their descendants. Since the spies described themselves as grasshoppers in their eyes, we can infer that they were greater than the average size. And remember, the grapes were huge. Furthermore, the Message translation calls these children giants in the land and the mighty men of ancient lore, the famous ones. Who are these famous ones? So who are the? It's like Gilgamesh and whatnot. Like, who are these people? I want to know who these people were. I've heard that people say that they were so famous, that's why Moses didn't even include who they were. Just by saying the mighty men of old, you would know. But Moses repeats himself like crazy. So I don't know why he wouldn't. Additionally, the Anakim and Nephilim have a similar perception. while the Anakim are people that need to be driven out, the Nephilim were seen as characters that performed evil deeds. One thought is that the Nephilim were one of the many reasons of the Great Flood. That's what I was saying just now. If that is the case, then both the Anakim and the Nephilim were extinguished by the great power of God. The Nephilim by nature, and the Anakim through God's favor on Caleb and Joshua. But where did the Anakim bloodline come from? That had to have come from the Nephilim, right? And then if the Nephilim were wiped out, how is it left? How were the Anakim to survive? How did they survive? Right? I was going to say something. Should I say it? Yeah, I'll say it. Okay. Rob Skiba talks about this, and he says that maybe the wives of Shem, Ham, and Japheth had some of that blood in them. I don't know. I mean, it's a crazy topic, right? Because there's not enough information, right? And there's and people get infatuated with the idea of giants and crossbreeding angels and people and offspring and giants eating people. It's like a fantasy novel, right? It's kind of crazy. But then because it's kind of crazy, it's easy to, hey, that's fantasy. That's fake. People are just talking weird nonsense. Obviously, that's not true. Obviously, they were not giants. Obviously, they were not people eating people. Obviously, they were not fallen angels coming and mating with human beings. That's like some Greek mythology type stuff, right? Where did the Greeks get it from? You know what I mean? Okay. But you can see how people would be like, yeah, we're not talking about that. That's obviously just some fake nonsense. It's crazy, right? But so is hitting a rock and water coming out. So is turning water to blood. So is splitting the Red Sea, right? That's why in this Bible study, I want to focus on what is written in the Bible, right? All the stuff I'm reading right here, I take it with a grain of salt, right? Because a lot of it is just human interpretation, right? I can interpret the Bible from reading it, right? But these people have they studied, they know that's why I focus on words and their origins, and that's why I'm trying to look up words and stuff like that, what they mean. Right, so I can figure it out on my own, right? And man, honestly, that's why I need some viewers, right? Because we can banter, we can talk back and forth, debate topics. You can tell me what I know, what I don't know. I can tell you what I know. We can figure things out together, right? Because I don't want outside influence. I don't want people's preconceived notions, feeding my interpretation of what the Bible is saying, right? So when I read these articles and stuff, and I share them and I put them in the description for you guys to check out, don't take them to heart. You know what I mean? Right? This is somebody's interpretation. Who is this guy who wrote this article? It's a female, Jenna Brooke Carlson, right? This is what she believes, right? The only thing that we can really count on is what's written right here in the book, in the Bible. So keep that in mind as we study these topics, right? That don't have a lot of concrete information there, right? Or maybe there is information, right? Maybe the Nephilim, you can be traced back to the word giant, and the word giant in the Bible does in fact mean what it is meant today. So, but right now I'm not seeing the descendants of Anak right here it said the descendants of Anak were like giants, right? But I need more. Because they said it was a bad report also right before that. So was that part of the bad report? I don't know. But, we can do a whole other video on the descendants of the Anakim, right? So let me know if you guys would be interested in that. That would be really cool to check out, I think. But yeah, this video is carried on for quite a while. It's a very interesting topic. So I hope you guys enjoyed it also. But that'll be it for today. Numbers 13. We just finished that. Holy man. 11 to 13. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. And we can keep going. We can keep on going, right? Because there's a lot. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, right? I'm very interested in hearing what you guys think about all this stuff, right? About Moses and God's relationship. About the Anakim, the Nephilim, the giants. how God got mad at Aaron and Miriam. That was kind of crazy, right? All that stuff. Right? Where did the quail go? And where did it come? Why did it come back? You know what? You know what I mean? Right? They were eating quail before. Where did it go? Why were they sick of the, why didn't they eat? Where, you know what I mean? Right? The quail had to have gone somewhere, right? Because God provided the quail beforehand in Exodus. So did it go away when they were walking? I don't know. I mean, see a lot of stuff to talk about in 11 to 13. So give me your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll be checking them out, right? Because I'll be checking them out because I'm curious to see what you guys think. So let me know, and I will see you guys later. All right, take care. Bye bye.